Welcome, sports fans, to another episode of Sports with Ed. In this episode, I'm going to be focusing on the Tigers, the NHL, and I'm going to be talking about college football and a little bit about the upcoming college basketball season. However, I first want to start out by talking about the Detroit Lions. The NFL season is just over 3 weeks away now, and I'm sure a lot of people out there are excited about this upcoming season. I'm skeptically optimistic. I don't think the Lions are going to live up to the hype or the projections that I've read. And I don't mean to rain on any Lions fans' parade because I am one myself. However, I just don't see them making the playoffs this year, for one thing. I don't think they've done enough, and I don't think their defense is good enough this year for them to make the playoffs. The other thing is I have concerns about Matt Stafford and his back after he had that serious injury last year. And it'll be interesting to see how well he does. I'm also interested in seeing how the running game is going to be, especially with DeAndre Swift and Kerryon Johnson at the helm. It should be a lot better than it has been in the past few years for sure. How much better it's going to be remains to be seen. The other thing is, since the last time I talked about the Lions on Sports with Ed, the Lions now have a new owner, or, if you will, Martha Ford Firestone, as you know, has stepped down and turned over the reins of the Lions to her daughter, Sheila Ford Hamp, who from now on I'm just going to refer to as Sheila Ford for simplicity's sake. So my apologies to Mrs. Hamp, but I think it would be a lot easier just to refer to her as Sheila Ford. What surprises me is that Martha Ford Firestone didn't turn over the reins of the team to her son, Bill, who I thought was being groomed to take over the Lions. And like I said, I don't know what Sheila Ford's knowledge of football is and the like. I don't know if this was done because she was a female. I really don't know. It'll be interesting to see. And there hasn't been anything really earth-shaking that's happened yet one way or the other where I can even have an early evaluation on her. However, time will tell, certainly, especially after this upcoming season. In any event, excuse me just a minute, folks. Part of the problem with recording sometimes is stuff happens, such as that. Anyway, what I was saying was, it's going to be pretty interesting to see what happens with somebody else at the helm of the Lions, for sure. Like I said, the running game ought to be better. Certainly Matt Stafford's better than any of the backup quarterbacks they have. So I would hope overall the passing game would be a lot better, provided, of course, that there is, one, a full season, and two, Matt Stafford is able to play it. And those are two concerns very much on my mind, especially the former. And that's basically what I want to get into right now a little bit. Will there be a 16-game season in the NFL this year? I mean, we already don't have any exhibition games, and that's going to make things really, really interesting. I think what you're going to see, not just from the Lions, but I think you're going to see it from a lot of teams the first couple of weeks of the season, is you're going to see a lot of rust. And you're going to see players making mistakes they don't normally make. The other thing I'm interested in seeing is what the conditioning of the players is going to be like. Again, no exhibition games, plus we've had a pandemic. It's going to be very interesting. I'm going to assume the Patriots and the Buccaneers at a minimum will be football ready as much as they can be. How football ready everybody else is, though, I think that's what we'll need to take note of, and that could have some definitely early season ramifications, to be sure. The other thing that concerns me a little bit, and what I've been thinking about, is it might be a good idea in light of what's happened with Major League Baseball to reduce the season from 16 games to 12. And the reason for that would be, if you have the playoffs, let's say in early December, you could actually have the Super Bowl in early January like it used to be in. And I've been a proponent for a long time now of moving the Super Bowl back to January. I've never understood that just because of September 11th, there is some sort of must that the Super Bowl being played in February. I don't like it as much. I don't think it's as good in February, and I would just love to move it back that last Sunday in January. With that having been said, because of the pandemic this year, I think more so like the first few Super Bowls were played in, and perhaps all the way up to about Super Bowl 12, I believe it was, it'd be good to play it around New Year's Day rather than later in the year. I think that would be the best chance you would have of getting a full football season in. And with that having been said, with all the problems that Major League Baseball has had in terms of continuity, you may not be able to do that. I don't know. I think and I believe that Roger Goodell is going to give his best shot. There's no question about that in my mind. But is his best going to be good enough? And I think for that, you've got to look to the players. More so than the coaches or the owners, it all is going to come down to the players. Much like it has in the NBA, much like it has in the NHL, and definitely has been in Major League Baseball. What are the players going to do, and how committed are they going to be towards winning versus partying or the like? And I think the answer to all these questions will hinge on whether we have a full NFL season or not, to be sure. With that having been said, I think the Lions are destined to finish last or possibly just ahead of the Bears in the NFC North. Again, I hate to rain on people's parades, but the reality is the Lions' pass defense was horrific last year. I don't believe it's going to be any better this year, and their run defense is pretty porous as well. And I'm still a believer that if you don't play defense in the NFL, you just aren't going to win. I think the Lions will be doing well to win 6 games this year, to be sure. If they do well enough, they might make it to 8, but I don't see them being a playoff team. So, sorry, Lions fans. There's always next year, hopefully. In the next segment, I'm going to be talking about the NHL and what they've done with the bubble and the like. Stay tuned on Ed's Sports Channel.